Radio 1 FM 90.
Brought to you by Housing Finance Bank, a financial institution regulated by Bank of Uganda. Housing Finance Bank, we make it easy. And ICEA Lion, get the annuity plan and get paid for life.
Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
Well, a very good evening to you and welcome to this edition of Spectrum. We're coming to you live from our heart of our city, Kampala. That is Radio 1 FM 90. We are here in the central building, which is our home, and we can also be heard or listened to via our website, which is www.radio1fm90.com. Our website is www.radio1fm90.com. You click on the icon with the word listen live. You can also get us on the different radio listening apps: TuneIn, Afro Mobile, your TV channel, Radio Garden, and Stream Afrique. We're also live on DSTV. The audio channel there is 897. Start times, we are at audio channel 97. My name is Kenneth Lukwagandason, your host. And today we'll be trying to understand the Somalia question and how we can bring about lasting peace in that country. Well, the Ugandan government is yet to fully report on a recent attack by insurgents known as the Al-Shabaab on a Ugandan-led forward operating base in Somalia, because it's still waiting for a full report from the African Union Transition Mission, ATMIS, in Somalia, under which the soldiers are operating. Now, after that attack, the Al-Shabaab were quick to claim that they had killed 137 Ugandan soldiers, captured many others, and also took away weapons. The UPDF declined to comment on these claims, pending a full-scale investigation. Now, the Commander of Land Forces, Lieutenant General Kayanja Muhanga, has been dispatched to Somalia to look into this situation. A statement issued by the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia confirmed that at around 5 a.m., that was on Thursday last week, the base was attacked by Al-Shabaab. That base is located in Lower Al-Shabaab region, 120 kilometers south of Mogadishu. The militants were using vehicle-borne improvised explosive devices and suicide bombers. The statement indicates that the fighting ensued and that the reinforcements from ATMIS Aviation Unit and allies managed to destroy the weapons that the Al-Shabaab had as they were withdrawing from the base they had attacked. Now, this attack comes at a time when the troop contributing countries have begun discussing the implementation of a troop withdrawal plan, which includes having a phased withdrawal of troops from Somalia, such that the National Army of Somalia, which has been trained for over the many years, takes full charge of the liberated areas as early as June this year. The plan is to have 2,000 troops withdrawn from Somalia and in a phased manner until when Somalia Army fully takes charge of the situation. Uganda was the first country to deploy troops in Somalia in March 2007 and was followed by other nations. Now, this mission has been subject to vigorous debate, with some people suggesting it's time to bring the troops back home. President Yoweri Museveni is not happy about what happened, and in a statement he has raised suspicion about possible corruption in the deployment process, but also wondered why the soldiers, if well trained, panicked when there was no need to do so during this attack. So today I have two experts to discuss this situation and also look into the bigger picture. What can be done to fully bring about lasting peace in Somalia, because we know if those problems there continue, we'll still have a problem of proliferation of small arms that come from that area, also insecurity in the region at large. Dr. Arthur Bainomugisha, Executive Director at the Advocates Coalition on Development and Environment, is a regional security expert and lecturer at the Uganda Christian University, focusing on peace and security studies. Thank you very much for joining us once again on Spectrum, Dr. Arthur Bainomugisha.
Thank you, Kenneth, for having me here, and good evening, viewers and listeners.
Mr. Edgar Tabaro, he's an advocate, analyst of issues within the region, and at the same time, he's an envoy from Sudan's oldest political party, UMA. Thank you very much for once again.
Sudan Khartoum.
Khartoum.
The one that is up in flames.
I'm telling you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us once again.
Yeah. As always, I'm always, like I've said before, I'm always humbled
being in the presence of my mentor, Dr. Arthur Binomjisha, with whom I share many, many, many beliefs, but we are fundamentally disagreed on one or two things, which I want to mention on air.
Which is a normal thing.
But I'm happy to be here, and good evening, listeners and viewers, wherever you are.
Well, gentlemen, and this attack that occurred on that forward operating base took everyone by surprise. 5 a.m., probably the boys were sleeping, the few were watching on guard. Boom, the attack occurs. What came into your mind when you heard that at 5 a.m. Our forward operating base in that particular area, Lower Shabelle, had come under attack by the Al-Shabaab?
Now, first of all, the troops were not asleep, actually. 5 a.m. Is in that part of the world is daylight. The day has broken. We are under the same time zone, but remember positioning.
They see the sun first.
They see the sun first. And usually they call for, what is that Islamic call for the first prayer in the day? That comes at 5 a.m. Usually it's already daylight there. People are already awakened. Some are already even in their fields. The information I have, and I'm going to be a little bit guarded because we are talking about security information and particularly defense. We do not have that luxury of being reckless, particularly on things that impact on national and regional security. It can inflame already an inflamed situation. So our troops were having breakfast, and the person manning the Kota Guard actually was able to see movement, large movement of persons towards the base through his binoculars, and I think he communicated with his superiors. Now, the mission we have there is not as what we Ugandans are perceiving it to be. It's a peacekeeping operation. They are not supposed to engage in combat unless under attack, and even the weapons they deploy are regulated. You don't carry a bazooka to a sledgehammer fight. There are rules of engagement, and they can, under such an attack, they can curtail progress. So we should look at it in that respect. It came by complete surprise, and to give credit to our men and women in uniform, they managed to hold fort for about 3 hours, up to 8 a.m. when they overran the camp, and you saw the executions they were making. There was sniper fire, but there was also as well execution of already wounded soldiers. People on the ground, they are wounded, and you saw the videos that they posted. So there's the element of failure of intelligence, and that is very critical in any military operations of any kind. Now, this is basically a mission that is composed of foreigners. For you to have successful combat operations, you need to be embedded in the community. You need to be embedded in the community. Now, if there's going to be rotational troop deployment, when you come to a region and you're a commander, you have to build relations with people. And believe me, you can't build relations within 1 year to understand very well the community. This is a very complex area, very complex ethnic composition, very complex religious composition. You see the persons who profess the Islamic religion, but they have their sects amongst themselves. And for you to understand why one imam is preferred over the other imam, why one mosque is preferred over the other, there are certain studies and interactions you have to do. And I'm afraid 1 year can't be enough. And this is the time many of these battle groups are being relieved. So really, I would like to start by, first of all, my love and sympathies to those who have lost loved ones in this battle. Two, to salute that contingent that was attacked. They held fort for 3 hours, but they were outgunned. About 800 people attacked. They were outgunned. They were outnumbered. And I could well add outmaneuvered in terms of intelligence. Now, if you look at the nature of weaponry that the enemy used, believe me, this is a very well-funded organization.
And looks like they planned very well.
Very well. Yeah. And there were even Europeans in the group. There is a regimental sergeant who was bayoneted by a European in that attack group. So, if you look at the dimensions, it answers to what we have been talking about previously with Dr. Bainomgisha. The regional and international aspects of the conflicts.
Are we defining that person a European because of the color or
the skin color?
The skin color.
Yes.
It could have been as well someone from the Arab world, because we know there is close collaboration between the Al-Shabaab and other insurgents operating in Yemen and all these places. Probably an Arab.
Al-Shabaab has recruited from Europe as well. They are,
okay.
You know, the basis of their recruitment is on extremism, religious extremism, religious bigotry. Now, religious bigotry cuts across races.
All right.
There are those Europeans who are Islamic bigots.
All right.
And they very easily fall to the extremism that is associated with some of these terrorist organizations.
All right. Well, you talk about the type of weapons which were there, but also you talk about
they had drones.
You talk about the number.
They had drones.
The number of the insurgents.
Yes,
well,
unmanned military aircraft.
According to President Yoweri Museveni, the base which was attacked had a company of soldiers.
Yes, about 200.
250, going by the British standards of the Army and the Americans, 250 soldiers.
Commanded by Lieutenant Colonel, who unfortunately succumbed.
Commanded by
I'll not mention his names unless the UPDF ought to be releasing some.
And then 8,000 insurgents came with explosives and attacked this base, which only had 2 tanks, 14.5mm anti-aircraft guns, 107mm Katusha rocket launcher, and that's all they had in terms of weaponry in that particular area. Well, Dr. Arthur Bainomgisha, your take on this attack and probably the lessons that can be taken from it.
Thank you very much. First, also, just like my colleague Edgar has pointed out, I send my condolences to the families that lost their dear ones. I send my condolences to the UPDF family. These are our men and women in uniform. They take the brunt of this on our behalf. They are in Somalia, not for allowances, not for holiday. They are there actually to protect the fire, to put out the fire on our doorsteps. Because some people, I've heard some people say, what is UPDF doing in Somalia?
Somalia, some people have actually said that it's time to bring back the soldiers.
Yeah, that is ignorance.
I think that is a bit missing the point.
Why do you think they are missing a point?
As I said, Somalia is fire on our doorsteps, and therefore it is important to contain the fire in Somalia than allowing it actually to come and frame, for example, the situation in Karamoja.
Since 1997, Dr. Arthur Bainomgisha.
Yes, let me also say this, that Somalia, the failed state in Somalia is not an African problem alone, it's an international problem. That conflict is an international conflict, and actually it should not be shouldered by the Africans. If you look at honestly, the contribution by the international community, I think it is still small. They never put their
armies.
Their boots on the ground. They just want to put the money.
The Americans were there in 1993.
No. They
were there in 1993.
Yeah, they cut and run, and since then they can only send long-range attacks and saving their soldiers. So it is Uganda, it is Africa that actually. So we need actually to give credit, to hail our soldiers, our men and women in uniform who have died, those who have completed their mission. I think the mission is noble. One, it's a Pan-African agenda. Number two, it's solving an African problem with African solutions. Yes, it's expensive, but I tell you that security can never be less expensive. I also agree, of course, the president has released some of the information, and I think about his explanation about the attack. I think there has been laxity. We have taken a long time without this kind of losses, and I think when you take a long time without losses, there is a bit of laxity on the command and control, and but also you also look at the intelligence, the failed intelligence, because this is 800 men and women moving. They should have been detected.
The formations are very easy to detect.
Yeah, they should have been detected. So that failed intelligence,
especially given the terrain of the area.
Yeah, and of course, it's failed intelligence even on our part, but it's also on the part of the African Union and the UN, because this intelligence must be shared. So I think it's a general failure. We will not blame it on our men who took actually the blunt, but general failure on the mission. And I think it should be brought. We need serious investigations as to what happened, and of course also to pay for this loss.
Let's stay a little bit with the assessment of the president. When he was speaking yesterday in Changkwanzi, he created that doubt, that thinking in people's minds that probably there is something wrong, starting with even the manner in which people are going to be deployed in Somalia are actually picked. The president talked about the possibility of having had cooks, bodyguards of some people here in the country, ending up on the list to be deployed in Somalia, and that is an element of corruption.
Yes.
Earlier on, you talked about this not being a mission for making money, but in that kind of assessment given by the president, this would be looked at as a money-making mission.
Let me tell you, even, you see, any war that lingers on for a long, long time produces what we call a war economy. It will produce entrepreneurs of violence. Conflict entrepreneurs. When it lingers on for a long time. And this is at all times. Even our war in northern Uganda with the LRA. The LRA was profiteering from that war. The UPDF was profiteering in this war. Their business community were... And actually, such a people do not want the conflict to end. They want it prolonged so they can maximize benefit. But I think one of the I want to salute the president for that honesty. I think he should have kept it to himself. But he said, I think the selection of these troops, the group that is always sent, they need to be prepared.
Battle groups.
They need the battle groups. They need to be combat ready. They need to be well selected. They need to be healthy. But when it is left to individual commanders to select their own dear ones, to their friends, and because we have taken a long time without encountering this kind of casualties,
and there's no all-out war. There's no all-out war, so you can send your relative there for 1 year.
For 1 year,
and
they come and
put
put up and build the house. So, but as the president rightly said, it is actually war. Actually, it is war. So, you need to send people that are combat ready. You need to also to fund this operation. And again, of course, we have also talked about it is also important to have a roadmap and a phase-out plan. It cannot go on indefinitely. But although you can actually review, you can refocus, but I think it is always important to give it an end point. But actually, most conflicts in Africa take between 15 and 20 years to end.
By design?
That's now scientific evidence has shown that they take between 15 and 20 years. So since 1991, this is a long time. 1991.
32 years.
It's almost 32 years.
The fall of Sidebar.
I was in senior two.
Yes.
When the state collapsed in Somalia. I
Yeah.
am now middle-aged. I've done this and that. My children are now adults. There's no real government to talk about.
What is your statement, your assessment of the president's take on this? When he talks about laxity, when he talks about possibility of corruption, what is your take? The honesty, like Dr. Arthur Bainomdisha says.
You know, President Museveni has access to all sorts of information. If that is his conclusion,
so we are quoting him.
If President Museveni has access to intelligence.
He's the biggest consumer of intelligence.
And sometimes he acts as a desk intelligence officer. A desk intelligence officer is one who gets raw information. That, for instance, Mr. Edgar Taro and Dr. Arthur Binovijisha were seen at Radio 1 exiting, and they went to have a cup of tea at Cafe Java's. That is information. Now, intelligence, you extract security information, and you do an analysis. Now, for Museveni, he gets raw intelligence. And sometimes he does his own analysis, or if he wants other angles, I'm told, he asks other people to
chip in.
And that's one of the reasons, I think, why he has sent General Muhanga, who has military experience in the same area. He has a military experience in the Congo. He has experience in South Sudan. Actually, they say Muhanga is the one who stabilized and saved Salva Kiir from certain annihilation by the White Army. So, what to make of his statements? You know, when a commander-in-chief pronounces himself, even if it were Bobby Wine as commander-in-chief and he has pronounced himself on something, I mean, for those of us who have security, what do they call it? Who look at things from a security angle as well. You let it be. That is his position.
Doesn't it affect the investigations? Because there's going to be an investigation, and we have the president already talking about the possibility.
I can chip in, of course.
The investigators are inclined to actually agree with the president.
No, I think you need to look at President Museveni's position as the head of state of Uganda, whose army has just made that loss. So he has accountability to make to the citizens, to the people of Uganda, and therefore he speaks as a president, he also speaks as a commander-in-chief. And I think it was in order for him, as I said, to be honest and and actually, after a while of without fighting of peace, normally you come to this kind of situation. And I think this situation should not even discourage the forces, but actually should put them on alert. And I think, again, now we need to ask the hard questions. The contributing countries, the African Union and the UN, we must have an end plan of this war. The army in Somalia must be ready now to defend their country with support from the international community. I think 32 years is a long time for an army really to be an army. And so when we prolong ourselves there for a long time, actually we also deny them the ability to take the responsibility for their own country. I remember the former army commander of Ethiopia, who's no longer, was called Yunus Samora. He was saying their interest was to train and equip the Somali army so that they can take on their responsibility, because you cannot babysit them forever. So it is time actually to deploy them. Perhaps even they have more capacity in gathering intelligence. As my colleague Edgar was saying, Somalia is a very complex society, but their army is as complex as it is, and actually they could respond. So actually we need to now to begin to phase out and actually to begin to play a supportive role, not even to do the combat role, just a supportive role so that they can take their responsibility and liberate the country.
Well, some people today were weighing in about what happened, and we had comments there coming from the FDC party, which is among those that have called for the urgent rethinking of the strategy in Somalia. They actually said the longer you stay, the more you become perceived as an enemy, because the more you stay, you might rub other people the wrong way. But let's go for a break. This attack comes at a time when there's supposed to be a troop withdrawal in June. What does this mean? But what exactly is the problem of Somalia? Why do we have this conflict? Stay tuned to Radio 1 FM 90. We'll continue after this break.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Thank you very much for staying with us on Spectrum, live on Radio 1 FM 90, live on our website, www.radio1fm90.com. You click on the icon with the word Listen Live, live on the different radio listening apps. We are live on DSTV audio channel 897, and we are live on StarTimes audio channel 97.